Fires, floods, tornadoes, hail the size of your fist. It's as if the planet is out of balance. You are waiting for breathtaking footage. Do not turn off. The most shocking events are waiting for you until the very end. Greece, the island of Chios. The fight against the fire continues. Has the disaster been stopped? On the third day of the fight against the fire, the island of Chios is still in smoke. The forest fire, which started on Saturday, quickly spread across dry slopes and fields, covering dozens of hectares of land. Gusty winds intensified the spread of the flames, and the fire came close to residential neighborhoods. Burnt houses, cars, charred frames of buildings, a mute testimony to the scale of the disaster. Hundreds of people were evacuated in a hurry. In total, more than 1,000 people left the island. The government declared a state of emergency. Additional forces were sent to the island. More than 400 firefighters, 14 helicopters, and 4 airplanes are involved in extinguishing the fire. Nevertheless, it has not been possible to control the fire to the end yet. Greece has mobilized an unprecedented 18,000 firefighters across the country, ready to be deployed to Chios or other regions where the fire broke out. Authorities say the fire has been partially contained, but high temperatures and dry soil remain a serious threat. Evacuees have not yet been able to return to their homes, and environmentalists warn it will take years for nature to recover. China, Rongjiang, Guangdong, largest flood in history, tens of thousands return home. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, a tragedy of its own, the Chinese city of Rongjiang, Guangdong province, has been hit by a massive flood that is already being called the worst in the region's history. The river that runs through the city has overflowed its banks after incessant downpours. Giant streams of water flooded streets, bridges, markets, and residential neighborhoods. The water rose 11 meters above normal, flooding thousands of homes and infrastructure. Underground parking lots, stores, subway stations, everything was underwater. Residents rescued themselves by climbing onto rooftops, and authorities sent boats, drones, and helicopters to evacuate. Fortunately, after a few days, water levels began to drop. More than 50,000 people began returning to their homes. But these homes are often in a shattered state. Collapsed walls, broken windows, damaged appliances, drowned cars. Some neighborhoods are still without electricity and water supplies. Services are clearing silt and debris from the streets and sanitizing facilities. Authorities said it will take at least a month to recover. The flooding was not only a natural disaster, but also a serious challenge for the authorities. The priority now is to prevent outbreaks of infections and provide shelter for those whose homes are uninhabitable. Venezuela, devastating landslides demolish homes and roads residents. Panicked South America is also suffering. In the state of Mérida, Venezuela, devastating landslides have started after heavy rains. The Matatin River overflowed its banks. A torrent of mud and water carried away a truck, an apartment building, and entire sections of road in the town of Timotes. But particularly dramatic events took place in the state of Trujillo, in the Mesitas de Niquitao region. Here, literally in a matter of minutes, a giant mass of mud and rocks rained down on residential neighborhoods. People fled their homes in panic, abandoning their belongings. The flow demolished dozens of buildings, felled trees, and severed power lines. Eyewitnesses say it all happened in minutes. The ground beneath their feet began to move, and in a few seconds, the entire slope was down. Another tragedy occurred in Colombia, in the city of Medellin. In the neighborhood of El Pinar, after heavy rains, there was a flood. Because of the water flows, a huge landslide collapsed. Earth and masculine and stones covered a residential neighborhood. According to preliminary reports, at least 10 people have died. Another 15 are reported missing. The landslide destroyed several houses, paving a path dozens of meters long. Hundreds of tons of earth covered the street in seconds. Rescuers, including volunteers, are working around the clock, searching for survivors under the rubble. Locals and journalists are reporting tragic scenes. People are searching for relatives, many sleeping on the streets for fear of repeated landslides. The Colombian government has sent the military and additional equipment to the region. Of particular concern is the fact that the Granizal region is on a seismically active fault line. Heavy rains the previous day only exacerbated an already dangerous situation. Many houses were built on slopes without reinforcements, and this was fatal. Indonesia tragic finale. Tourist's body found on the slope of Rinjani volcano. Another tragedy on the Indonesian island of Lombok. Here on Mount Rinjani, the search for a 26-year-old tourist from Brazil, Juliana Marins, is over. The girl disappeared during a hike to the crater of the volcano. According to the guide, Juliana asked to stop to rest and was left alone. When he returned a few minutes later, she was gone. Later, drones recorded her at a depth of 300 meters on the rock. She was alive but could not move. However, weather conditions, thick fog, and difficult terrain hampered the rescue operation. With each passing day, visual contact was lost, and after 24 hours, it became clear she had fallen even lower. This morning, volunteers retrieved her body. This story has shocked not only Indonesia, but thousands of people around the world. Continuing our review of the most shocking disasters of recent days, India, a leopard attacked a man in a village. In the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, in the village of Babari, there was a truly shocking incident. In the brick kiln where a local resident was working, a wild leopard entered. The animal, which had strayed or been driven out of the forest, came face to face with the man. Footage taken by eyewitnesses shows the animal lunging at the young man in a rage. The man, despite the serious threat, did not give in to panic and began to defend himself, without weapons, with his bare hands. While villagers threw stones to scare the predator away, the victim held on and pushed the animal away. His actions saved his life, although he suffered multiple wounds and was urgently hospitalized. In the southwest of France, in the New Aquitaine region, the town of Dax was hit by a massive hailstorm. The weather front brought thunderstorms and ice squalls that left the streets covered with large hailstones, some as large as golf balls. Mexico, Jalisco, Zapopan, and Guadalajara went underwater. Heavy rains caused severe flooding in two major cities at once. In just a few hours, the streets were flooded with violent streams of water. Cars could not cope with the pressure and were literally carried away by the current. People were rescued on the roofs of cars and upper floors of buildings. Underpasses, parking lots, stores, everything was flooded. India, Kulu. Devastating downpour washes away everything in its path. The torrents of water literally washed away trees, road barriers, and even bridges. Many roads became impassable, and collapses were recorded in several areas. Hundreds of homes were cut off from civilization. Army units and heavy equipment were sent to help. Germany, Berlin. Violent winds felled trees in the center of the capital. The German capital was also hit by the elements. A squally wind hit Berlin, falling dozens of trees, damaging cars, and disrupting public transportation. The city center was particularly affected. Several neighborhoods were left without light, eyewitnesses report. The wind picked up trash, tore down signs, broke stops. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries, but rescue services are working nonstop, clearing passages, restoring damaged sections of power line. Mexico, El Monte. Floodwaters demolished cars on the streets. The day before, a brief but incredibly intense downpour caused a flash flood. In a matter of minutes, the streets turned into rivers. The water swept away everything in its path, including cars. Russia, Sochi, a water tornado near the shore. Eyewitnesses filmed a tornado formed a few hundred meters from the beach, a rare and dangerous natural phenomenon. Fortunately, it did not hit the shore, but its appearance caused panic among vacationers. We continue our alarming review. In the northern part of Spain, in the province of La Rioja, there was an unprecedented hailstorm. In some areas, hailstones reached the size of a hen's egg. The downpour of hail began suddenly and lasted about 20 minutes. It caused serious damage in a short time. The elements continued to test India. In the town of Kullu, in the state of Himachal Pradesh, a powerful downpour has caused flooding. Water rushed down from the mountains and flooded streets, homes, and markets in a matter of hours. People panicked to rescue pets and children, carrying them on their shoulders to higher ground. In some places, bridges have been destroyed. Communications and electricity supplies have been disrupted. Residents living near rivers have been advised to leave their homes immediately. The damage is estimated at millions of rupees, and authorities have already started discussing a recovery plan today. Russia, Toulon, Irkutsk region squall tears off roofs and falls trees. In eastern Siberia, in the city of Toulon, a powerful squall passed through, the consequences of which were extremely destructive. The hurricane wind tore roofs off residential houses, outbuildings, overturned bus stops, and felled massive trees, many of which fell directly onto roadways and power lines. Russia, Yakutia, Shah, squally winds caused destruction. The strength of the wind was such that the roofs of some houses were torn off and sheds and buildings were literally blown around. USA Lake Tahoe, tragedy, boat capsized, 8 people killed. A terrible tragedy occurred last weekend in the United States, on Lake Tahoe. A tourist boat with 13 passengers overturned during a trip. On board were both adults and children. According to preliminary data, the cause was a sharp deterioration in weather conditions, a sudden squall and large waves. Despite attempts to save themselves, 8 people died. Rescue services removed the bodies from the water. Some of the victims were hospitalized in serious condition. But on the other side of the world, there is a real climatic paradox. In Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, it snowed for the first time in 18 years. Yes, snow. In the middle of a South American winter, but in an area where it almost never happens. Australia, Mount Hotham. Mid-June and already snowdrifts. In the south of Australia, in the state of Victoria on Mount Hotham, winter has made its presence felt in earnest. Despite the beginning of the winter season, this year the snow fell especially early and especially abundantly. Real snowdrifts have formed. Snow where there hasn't been snow for decades. Water washing away cities. Heat waves changing to hurricanes. It's like the planet is screaming. To keep abreast of the real changes and to get the news that the evening bulletins won't tell you about, subscribe to the channel right now.